It's late 2025, and let's be honest, the conversation around AI is just everywhere. But it's not one simple story anymore, right? It's a whole collection of huge, high-stakes debates. So are we in a massive bubble that's about to pop, or are we in the middle of the biggest industrial build-out of our lifetime? Let's get into it and try to unpack what's really going on with this tech, and, all of us.
I think this quote from OpenAI's Sam Altman just nails it. He says that at the heart of every bubble, there's this kernel of truth that gets everyone way too excited. And with AI, that kernel of truth is seriously powerful, but it's also surrounded by this giant wave of hype. So our job today is to try and separate what's real, what's actually being used, from all the speculation.
All right, so to figure this out, we're going to look at 5 big debates. First, we'll talk about this buzzword, Agentic AI. Then we'll follow the money. Is it a bubble or a build-out? We'll get into what this all means for our jobs, the crazy physical infrastructure it needs, and finally, how AI is basically holding up a new mirror to our society.
Okay, first step, Agentic AI. This is absolutely the industry's favorite term right now. But is it just talk, or is this stuff actually out there doing things in the real world? So, what do we even mean by that? Well, put simply, Agentic AI isn't just about answering your questions or writing an email. We're talking about autonomous systems that can make a plan, use other software tools, and actually take action. But, and this is key, they also know when to stop and say, hey, human, I need some help here.
And look, this is not a science fiction movie. It's already happening in the back offices of huge industries. In insurance, AI agents are plowing through complex claims. At Amazon, they're helping manage a nearly $18 billion ad business. In logistics, they're sorting out messy shipping documents. This stuff isn't a flashy demo, it's being woven into the core plumbing of our economy.
And here's the fundamental change, the big shift. Old-school AI, or machine learning, was great at analyzing a bunch of data to give you a score, like what's the risk on this loan. Agentic AI takes the next step. It doesn't just give you a score, it takes an action. It doesn't just predict the risk, it actually drafts a settlement. It's the huge leap from just thinking to actually doing.
But it's definitely not all smooth sailing. I mean, look what happened when Microsoft tried to push this vision of an agentic OS into Windows. Users pushed back hard. They were worried about their computer slowing down, about a clunky, frustrating experience. And that's a reality check, right? You can't just slap an AI agent on top of a product and call it a day. If the user experience isn't seamless, people will just reject it.
And this whole tension between what's possible and what's practical brings us right to our second huge debate, the money. Because with billions, and I mean billions of dollars flooding into AI, everyone's asking the same question. You can almost feel the anxiety in the air, can't you? Are we just watching a replay of the dot-com bust, or is something totally different happening this time around?
Now, the people worried about a bubble, they have a pretty good case. You've got folks like Sam Altman himself and the CEO of DeepL openly saying that company valuations just look exaggerated. And you're seeing startups that are further along, they're facing this intense pressure to prove that they can actually turn a profit on each customer, not just grow at all costs.
But then you have the pragmatists, and they see it completely differently. They're saying, no, this isn't some wild speculative frenzy. This is a disciplined industrial-scale build-out. Think about the electrical grid being built a century ago. The big tech companies are pouring hundreds of billions of dollars of their own money into this, and they expect a real return. It's created this kind of circular AI economy, where the biggest players are funding each other, creating this really powerful self-sustaining ecosystem. And just look at the sheer scale of this thing. In 2024 alone, private investment in AI in the US hit over $109 billion. That's more than the next several countries combined, by a lot. This isn't just venture capitalists throwing money around. This is a massive economy-shaping wave of capital.
The story of this startup, Perplexity, just captures the whole debate perfectly. You have investors at a big conference voting it most likely to fail because they think its valuation is insane. But at that exact same time, its power users, the people actually using the product every day, are saying it's way better for doing research than the big guys. It's this classic clash between Wall Street spreadsheets and what people actually find useful.
So all of this money and all of this new tech, it naturally leads us to our third and maybe the most personal debate for all of us. The future of work. What in the world happens to human jobs when these AI agents get better and better?
So one of the big worries is this thing called the talent doom cycle. Here's how it works. First, AI starts automating those entry-level junior jobs, the repetitive stuff. That breaks the pipeline where young people get their first shot and learn the ropes.
And if you break that pipeline, then 10 or 15 years down the road, you suddenly have a massive shortage of experienced senior leaders. It's a huge long-term risk that makes us question what experience even is anymore.
But on the flip side, we're seeing completely new jobs pop up that we couldn't have imagined a few years ago. The big one is the agent manager. This isn't a coder. This is someone who manages a team of AI agents. They train them, they give them context, they review what they're doing, and they design the workflows, basically acting as the human in the loop.
And then you get amazing terms like vibe coding. This is the new reality where someone who does know how to code can build a working app just by talking to an AI, by describing the vibe of what they want. It's an incredible way to democratize creation, but it also feeds right back into that fear about those entry-level coding jobs disappearing. See the tension?
But okay, none of this stuff, the agents, the money, the new jobs, none of it exists in some digital cloud. It has to live somewhere in the real world. And that brings us to our fourth debate, where the sky-high ambition of AI crashes right into the hard realities of the physical world.
The level of ambition is just staggering. You've got Google dropping $40 billion on data centers in Texas, Samsung is putting over $300 billion into its chip facilities, and NVIDIA thinks that spending on data centers could hit $4 trillion by 2030. This isn't a tech trend, it's a global construction boom on an unbelievable scale.
But that ambition is slamming into some very real, very hard physical limits. I mean, can our power grids even handle that much demand? What about all the water these giant data centers need to stay cool? And just try getting a permit to build one of these things. It's slow, it's bureaucratic, and people often don't want them in their backyards. The whole thing really depends on companies like TSMC continuing to work miracles, making chips more and more efficient, because energy is the ultimate roadblock here.
Ultimately, though, this whole build-out isn't just about chips and data centers. It's about how this technology is wrapping itself around the very fabric of our daily lives. And that brings us to our final debate, how AI is becoming a kind of mirror for our society, reflecting our hopes, our fears, and our future back at us.
And the impact is getting so deeply personal. On one end of the spectrum, you have people forming real emotional bonds, even marrying their AI companions. And at the exact same time, trying to find a job has become a nightmare because hiring managers are just drowning in a sea of AI-generated resumes. And then zooming way out, AI isn't a tech issue anymore. It's a core piece of foreign policy and national security.
So as we've seen, the story of AI right now is a story of tension. It's the hype of what could be versus what's actually working today. It's the fear of a financial bubble versus the reality of a massive industrial build-out. It's the anxiety about jobs being eliminated versus the excitement of new roles being created. And it's that endless digital ambition running headfirst into finite physical reality.
These contradictions, they aren't a flaw in the system. They are the defining feature of this new era we're living in. So the real question is, as these powerful forces reshape our world, our work, and maybe even our relationships, where do you see the balance tipping? And more importantly, where do you fit into all of this?